Welcome to Who You Know with Michael Sublett of Oddmost Pizza and Arthur Meeker of Extreme Graphics. We're shining the spotlight on businesses right here in the Pacific Northwest, celebrating their growth, their networking wins, and the impact they make in their communities. From small town gems to big community players, this is where connection meets inspiration.
Welcome to our show, Don Suklis. I've known you for like 10 years now from our networks group that we go every Thursday morning.
Cool.
And we've done business together. You're my insurance agent too, which has been a great relationship. Actually the best insurance relationship I've ever had. But I was really excited to have you come on the show today and talk to Mike and I because you're a really funny guy. And you align with Mike because you used to do pizza at one time. Do you want to share with us?
Well, sure. I had fun in the pizza business. I spent 23 years with Figaro's Pizza, and 8 years before that with Izzy's, and in the full service industry. And I had a blast in the pizza business. I really did.
Yeah.
We had our own franchises in Cottage Grove, Springfield, and we were really happy at it. It was a blast.
With the Izzy's franchise?
No,
or the Figaro's?
first I learned the pizza business from Izzy's,
okay.
but I had a Figaro's franchise, which we opened in the 80s, 85 or 86, in Cottage Grove, and then we opened another one in Springfield and raised our kids down there, and it was great fun. Still lots of stories, lots of memories.
Do you still eat pizza?
I crave pizza. It's
Yeah.
terrible. At least once a week, and long ago, the rest of my family tipped out on that one. Yeah, they're like, no, Dad, we're sick of pizza.
I don't think I could ever get tired of eating pizza. It's one of my favorite foods. So I should stay away from pizza a little bit.
I don't know. I did this thing with my kids and stuff, which was we could only have pizza once a week, and that was it. So I wanted to cherish movie night, and so we would always have pizza with drinks and a movie. And so I tried to keep that the same as like what everybody else does, you know?
Yeah.
And not been like, I don't really want to cook tonight, let's just have pizza again kind of thing. Because I didn't want them to get burnt out on it, because I just would still want them to love it. I still have it. When people ask, they still really love pizza.
I did not use that kind of insight. We were the sixth store that opened in the chain back then, and by the time there were 42, most of the development of the products, new products in the chain, I loved, and the franchisor supported. So our home kitchen was often the test kitchen because we were take and bake. And I swear they would have bolted the door from the inside if they'd known I was bringing another thing home to try and another thing home to try. But that was how we grew our sales. We grew our little 1,400 square foot building with just take and bake from a little over 220,000 to over 972,000 when we were done.
Wow.
And we, over the years, just adapted and knew that customers were only going to buy from us if we had something that would keep them out of the kitchen and we could replace the meal with.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was good memories.
Yeah, that
Good
sounds like a lot of fun. I don't think my kids would mind if we had pizza every night of the week. So they still love pizza.
They would the first week.
Yeah.
And then the second week, they'd be like,
Come on.
So
let's mix in some
you
cereal.
went from pizza to insurance, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quite a strange jump.
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
how did that happen?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you this transition because I really.
Are you looking for
Are you
something else to
hiring?
do?
yeah, oh, that's hilarious.
You're looking for the next career.
What was
27
interesting
years.
was our chain was purchased. As a leader goes, so goes the organization. That's one of the things I've learned. Good leaders, good organizations. That's true for families, for businesses, for churches, it doesn't matter. If you have a good leader, you move in good directions. And we had a new owner buy the chain, and he recruited me to come to work as his director of operations, and I was bored. I'd been bored for 4 or 5 years. So I drove from Cottage Grove to Salem and worked for him for about a year and a half. And he said, I want you to move up here. We're going to run this thing across the country. And I thought, yeah, right. My family and I moved to Salem. We sold our store. And we went from 2 states to 19 states in 4 years. And to be honest, it was an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah.
It didn't work. During that time, what I realized was I am an entrepreneur. I had a very difficult time being in a corporate environment, being driven by profits and potentially dividends if we went public turned out to be just a bad taste in my mouth. And my 2 best friends were State Farm agents who had started Figaro's. guy named Alda Baker and Corky Gorley, and they both left into their own agencies. So I spent a week in each of their offices and had no idea what they did. I thought it was, got to wear a suit, and it's stodgy, and it's boring, and I'm going to hate my life. And it wasn't that at all.
Oh,
at
wow.
all. And so I came back, gave my notice, and went to work. All pretty immediately after that, I had to give a long notice and started in 2008 as a State Farm agent. And be careful what you ask for.
Yeah.
Because it didn't work at first at all.
Really?
No, it didn't work at all.
Yeah.
Nope.
Why didn't it work?
Well, it tested our resilience both financially and as a family, just the amount of change. State Farm didn't know it. They told me, you're going to go to work for great agents. You're going to work for them for a couple of years. We'll rotate you around agent to agent. You're going to learn this business, which I knew nothing about. And I got my licenses in September, and then my mortgage license, which they required then, and then my financial services 6 and 63 to sell stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And I had all those licenses in hand, and now I'm ready to get trained. And unexpected, an agent took a left turn, moved into management. Her agency opened, and because I was first in line, they put me in the agency. They didn't want that, I didn't either. She built one of the largest Hispanic-speaking agencies in 6 states. She'd done extremely well. And over the course of the next 2 years, as I followed her in, we aren't really sure, but somewhere between 70 and 80% of those customers left the agency. I didn't speak Spanish. None of the team that worked for her stayed. And so we had to start over and build from scratch. And I was about 20 months. Sherry and I were talking about it, my wife. I was about 20 months before I took my first check out of the agency of any kind. And it was about $1,200, and then it was 13, and then it was 15. But in the meantime, both my daughters got married, okay, 2 weddings. I'd come out of a 6-figure job, and everybody had told me, don't worry, Suklis, you can't break one of these things, just learn how to run them right, and then when you take the wheel, well, I nearly wrecked that business 4 or 5 times trying to keep it on the road.
Wow.
Poured money into it. And it turned out what I learned in the restaurant business didn't transfer well at all.
That was my question. I was curious if
and
you
not
were
at
able
all.
to apply any of it.
I did not know how to grow a sales organization through others. If you do it as a funnel through you as the agent, it'll never work.
Right.
It'll never work.
Yeah.
And it was a woman named Marjorie Dudley, and about the last cash I had left with Sandler Sales Organization. Somebody told me about her. She came down and sat with me. She interviewed me. And by the way, State Farm said, you're doing great. You're a poster boy. You've turned it around. You're great.
Wow.
And I thought, maybe, but I don't want to do this. I don't like this.
Yeah.
And I sat down with her. She interviewed each of my team and then came to my desk and said a couple of things to me, which my team have heard. She's still involved in my life today as a trainer. She said, first of all, the tongue in your shoes and the tongue in your mouth are not going the same direction. What you say you want to do with the business and what it sounds like from your team is happening are 2 different things. And secondly, are you ready to hear or listen? Because I'm going to cost you $350 an hour whether you listen or not. And then she smiled really big.
Wow.
And, I'm so grateful to her and her team because we had no clue how to build a sales organization.
Yeah.
And every Thursday over the next 2 years, we drove to Wilsonville, all of the team, 8 o'clock, and began to build a completely different organization than the one we built then. And it's still, much of that's very much enforced and in place today. And really grateful.
How long has it been that you've had the agency?
18 years.
18 years. And do you have, is it just some of the same people or?
Well, interestingly, over the 18 years I've done it, I've hired a total of 27 people, including Sherry, my wife, who doesn't work in the agency but was a paper employee, and 10 of them work for me today.
Okay.
Having a lack of turnover was very, very important to me. That was what made the restaurant business so much fun, is we averaged 44 months per employee, which was, at the time, McDonald's in the 80s was 188 days. I'll never forget that. They were struggling with a 188-day average turnover. And the key was hire people who fit the industry, treat them well, pay them a little better than anybody else for great results, And I just bought into that, and it worked very well.
Yeah.
In the insurance business, I literally didn't know how to attract talent. I didn't know how to identify it. I never hired a salesperson. And I just knew I didn't like selling.
No, it's interesting. In the pizza industry, you're a salesperson. A lot of people talk about being a salesperson. We are salespeople in the pizza industry, but not like that. It's a very different breed. It's very different. There's a lot. I mean, all the characteristics of a good salesperson really aren't whimsical like the pizza industry salesperson, you know. We really like the bubbly, kind of the positive, the energetic, the people that love that rush,
Yeah.
you know, that adrenaline rush, but they're not, you know, necessarily that structured.
No, and Selection Research Incorporated, SRI, a company that the Gallup polling organization later bought, there was a man named Donald Clifton who developed an interview to attract, train, and retain people who were right for the restaurant business. And it was back in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'd gone back there to train and came back and just bought into it. And it was 40 questions we would ask each person who applied, and it would help us determine things like kinesthetics, the tendency toward physical activity, gestalt, the desire to do things thoroughly and completely, woo, the desire to make customers happy. They'd studied the restaurant industry and figured out, you people are terrible. You have this warm body hiring practice. I need a person. You get them an apron and you wonder why they don't fit and you don't like them there. I followed that and did not hire anybody with a score less than 28 out of 40.
Wow.
And over the years, what it taught me was we had an unfair advantage in that we knew who we were looking for before that person who was applying knew that they had those traits. And I'd hire 14, 15, 16-year-olds, and they'd stay and go to high school and then go to the college and remain with us for years. But without that tool, I really didn't know how to attract talent. And when I came to State Farm, I didn't have any tool like that.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So that's really good because you do have a really good staff. I enjoy every time I have something that I have to, insurance related,
Yep.
you know, because I always have to call to get the binders for commercial jobs and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And they're so friendly and they're so helpful and stuff like that.
I love my team. Sarah's
Yeah.
been 19 years
Yeah.
with State Farm.
Wow.
Shelby's been 8 or 9 years. Dylan, 6. Carlos. All the team have enough experience that if we joke that if one of us doesn't know the answer, all of us do. There's
Yeah.
somebody at some desk. But what's funny is I'm just reminded of a gal named Twyla who walked in one day, and I talked to her about my staff, and she said, you know what staff is? It's an infection. They're called a team.
I love it. I love it.
And ever since then, I've called them my team. And it's not because I wanted to, it's because I always felt guilty calling them
Can't
staff
get that out of your
after.
head, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Isn't that
That's
a riot?
So funny.
Yeah, her name was Twyla Kobos, and I'll never forget that. She says, they're not an infection. They're a team.
love that.
Is that funny?
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have
Yeah.
to use that.
I
now.
know, yeah. Yep.
I've got some other good comments from your quotes that you made that I remember. So, but the funny thing about that is Carlos
Yeah.
was a really good person that you brought on board. Known Carlos since he was in the restaurant business.
Carlos is amazing.
And but he always makes the comment whenever he's at our group that he's going to be there now and you can go away.
Yes, we're gonna rid the room of Don.
Yes, and I like that.
Yeah, he thinks he's hilarious.
As a business owner, that's what you want, right?
Exactly.
So
4.5 years ago, I was mentioning to you guys when we were here, I had a major event I didn't ask for that occurred in my life. And when it did, I began to look prospectively very different at all of my relationships. And the same things that I had to learn in my marriage relationship, I decided to apply at work. And it turned the business on its ear. Most of it was letting go of control, figuring out why I was so angry all the time and dealing with that, and then beginning to let aces in their places do things that a controller won't let someone do.
Yep.
And what's interesting is it took me 4 years to double a business that took me 13, 14 years to build. And it's by allowing people like Shelby and Carlos and Sarah and Griselda and Allison and all of my team to do things that they're better at than I ever was.
Yep.
But when you're large and in charge, what's interesting is people don't really develop.
Yeah.
And so for the last 4.5 years, focusing on being a developer rather than a leader it's created incredible opportunities for all of us that just wouldn't have existed.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. That's kind of a corner I turned a few years ago in my own business. Let my staff let go. I'm a control freak, and I really had to have my hand in everything. And then I realized that they can do that same job that I do, but probably better. And so I let them roll with it, and I opened it up to let them, make the decisions for stuff, and it's worked out really good. So I'm right there with you on
I'm
that.
so grateful today,
Yeah.
so grateful today.
Yeah.
And it's opened not only opportunities for them in terms of responsibility and pay, but for me to have some aspects of life freed up to do some things with that I never even imagined, and they didn't have an opportunity to until the space opened up.
So you had a big life change, and did you change? Was it personal growth for you, or
Oh yeah, but it
or
hurt.
what?
Yeah, it was really, really painful. About 4.5 years ago, my wife came home one weekend and said she was going to go stay with a friend for a night or two, and it had been hard for a long time. Somebody told me that just because you're married, just because the pot's on the stove, doesn't mean what's inside tastes good. And Sherry and I had reached a place where we didn't have answers to our marriage. We were stuck hard. And I was angry all the time, and I couldn't tell you why I was angry. I was angry alone in the car. I was angry when I was with her. I was angry, but I wouldn't always show it. With her, I did. It came out. I was really, really angry. Well, she got in her car and left, and she did not come back at all. And over the course of that time, a couple weeks into it, a friend who'd known me a long time, I called him. His name's Rick, and he said, "Yeah, why don't you go to Salem Alliance or Salem Heights Church? They have some men's program. I think you need to go there." And I sat in there for a couple weeks. It was called Most Excellent Way. And I got madder. I got angrier. Why am I here? I don't need to be here. This is a group for addiction. This is a group for addiction. I don't belong here. After 6 weeks, I realized, I was. I belonged exactly where I was. I had cultivated anger into all of my thinking. I couldn't tell you why I was mad. And I was addicted. Who I was actually addicted to was self. My pride and my ego and my anger made my decisions.
Oh wow.
Oh, it was hard. I did
Yeah.
not realize how deep those roots had developed. And anybody who loved me or knew that, loved me anyway, but sometimes I was pretty hard to like.
Yeah.
And I certainly wasn't happy myself. 4.5 years later, I still go every Monday night to Most Excellent Way. And I help today, whether your addiction is pornography or anger or meth or alcohol, it doesn't matter. There's a part of our brains that was made to worship, and we find something else to worship.
Right.
And for me, the three things that dictate my life today are faith, family, and fun. And I want a lot of all three.
Yep.
I literally wanted those things, but didn't know how to have enough personal peace and rest to enjoy any of them.
Yeah.
My daughter's at my 65th birthday last week. They threw me a surprise birthday party, and we had a big Greek dinner, and it was so much fun.
Oh.
They poked fun at me all night, and we laughed. But Kelsey, my youngest, said, "Dad, what's the biggest thing ahead for you that that's new?" And I said, "All the hurryitis is gone. You guys saw me in a hurry all my life. I
Yep.
was in a hurry to do the next thing. And I was kind of ticked off or angry because we weren't there yet. I could ruin a vacation by being in a hurry.
Yeah.
Everything I was in a hurry. Today, you just about can't get me to hurry at all on anything. I'm suspect when those feelings of anxiety and hurry come. Because you end up at a place you don't want to be in, you don't know how you got there, and you stay there too long, right? You're just in such a hurry that maybe the next thing will satisfy it. I have not known how to rest. And today, rest has a huge, huge value to me. It's never had. It's
Yeah.
never had.
I love that. That's a great message, and I hear you on that because a lot of business owners we're in a hurry, and we're always we're chasing something always.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. And I love that message that you get. And it takes a while, to get to that point where you got to realize, like, and what happens is people miss their kids' birthdays and events, and, or you might be present there, you might be there physically, but present, your mind is somewhere else. And, I get reminded that all the time, just in a conversation with my wife or my employees are looking, Arthur, are you here?
Yeah.
Because they saw my brain left the house.
Yeah.
And I know
I
Denise
so
says that
appreciate
stuff
that.
to you sometimes when you guys are driving or whatever.
Well, she's asleep.
Oh, okay.
She wakes up and says, "What are you thinking about?" But I do have one question about what you're talking about, and that is, how long did it take the people around you? Because a lot of times you can have a personal growth change. You can see that.
Yeah.
How long did the people around you also trust that evolution that you were having yourself? How long did it take for everybody else to kind of look at you differently and understand that your new foundation and the way you're doing, you know what I'm asking? And so how long did that...
Mike, it depended on the person and their relationship with me. So, for instance, my team held me together when Sherry left because I broke. By the way, when she did come back, we were able to start work that without that time apart, I don't think either of us could have done. Okay? It was painful but important. My team really propped me up during that period, and the same teaching I received, which was from a gal named Danny Johnson on how to run the business different, think different, live different, was called GEM training. They joined me in, and today it's an essential part of our ongoing business, and anybody who comes in, we teach it to them. So they were quick to support and grow along. I would say after about a year, I went to my friend and I said, I'm so frustrated. I'm not angry. I'm not loud. I don't talk back. I have peace, but I don't feel like my wife or my daughters understand or get it. And I should never have asked the question, because he said, well, Don, how old are you? I said, well, I'm almost 61. Okay. And how long were you angry? What do you mean? How long were you angry? I don't know, maybe 20 years, maybe 30. Okay. So why don't we get impatient with them when you've done it the right way as long as you did it the wrong way? Why don't we do that? Doesn't that seem reasonable? And what that did was it stopped me being focused on what others thought and focused on simply doing my best to become a loving servant. A loving servant isn't doing it, and my grandmother was one of those, out of the reaction she'll get from you, but she's doing it from the inside out instead of the outside in. If I get enough approbation and enough praise and enough kudos and people notice me, well, then I'll want to do more of it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so learning to become a loving servant, that's what Most Excellent Way taught, coupled with the GEM training in our business, which was really fundamental and practical. My team moved along, then my wife joined me, and then really my oldest daughter has just stood next to my wife and I all the time. She has 6 kids. She's the busiest person I know on the planet, and yet she has an undying and uncompromising ability to give unconditional love. And she's been just a beautiful, beautiful representation of love to our family and to Sherry and I.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, we're grateful, so grateful.
So you have that, and so I know one of your hobbies is cars.
Yeah. Yep. Less.
You have less cars?
Yes.
Oh.
I made cars less of a priority because I
that's
spent
a priority.
thousands of hours out in the shop by myself. And I don't do that anymore. Now, if I do something with cars, I want to drive them and I want to be with somebody else.
Right.
So that changed. I don't bring any cars in to restore anymore.
Okay.
At that same party last week, my daughter started spouting about how many cars we'd owned. And I have no idea. I've never kept track. She and her mom remembered 150, and that was 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
My dad had over 300 cars that he could remember by the time I was 40. It's not really a gift. I learned it's kind of a sickness.
Yeah, an addiction.
An
addiction.
It absolutely was. It's that look at me personality, or look what I can do, or some of it was cars and fun, But the cars today are cars we drive, we have memories with, we have a good time with. I love Italian cars. I love German cars. I love cars in general.
Yeah.
But they have a much, much different place in my life today.
What kind
than
of cars
they
do
did.
you have now?
My two favorite cars, we have a couple of Alfa Romeos, which are an Italian car. Nobody knows much about them, and they're not real well known in the U.S. By the way, they're a great used car buy because of that,
Yeah.
and they're so much fun. And then we like convertibles. Yeah, we've always liked convertibles. What I love about it is it looks unassuming. It's just a four-door sedan. You look at it, and it's a decent, good-looking car. But it's one of the fastest sports sedans ever sold in the U.S. Bone stock. It'll do 191 miles an hour. Hit 60 in 3.7 seconds. It's insane. It'll beat all but a C8 Corvette, every C7 and before. It'll leave them in the dust to 100. And so that's been really, really fun. Although it tests my social responsibility a little bit sometimes. So
Yeah.
I drive it with care.
How many tickets do you have?
I don't.
You don't.
Oh, well, come on. We're on air, please. Sherry's going to listen. No, I got a ticket. One of the funniest stories I got a ticket from an officer in the safety zone, which is between my house, I live south of Salem, and Kaiser. And I was going over Market Street, that's called the safety corridor, and it's 60 miles an hour, and a motorcycle cop pulled me over. Oh. And I hadn't had a ticket forever, and I didn't want the ticket. And I said, officer, if I beg for mercy, is there any way I could get out of this ticket? And he did not hesitate. His visor was up, and he leaned in, and he said, church is for mercy, the road is for justice. Check with them on Sunday, you're getting a ticket today. And he delivered it just like that. And it was like I got punched in the gut.
Yeah, that sounds like a motorcycle cop.
Oh, it was hilarious.
They're a different breed.
Later, he went back to his bike. He was there forever. He came up and he said, I checked your record. You go down to the Lynn County Fairgrounds. That's near where you live. You can take a class, and they'll take it off your record. And I did. So I don't have any speeding stories. And I actually think the best place for that is on the track. Yeah. Portland International Raceway, the Alpha Club. There's lots of great opportunities to exercise cars on a track without killing yourself or someone else.
I like that answer.
Yeah.
It's really good.
That's an insurance answer.
I love that.
I knew that was coming.
That's a risk manager.
That's right. There you go. Fortunately, nowadays we have the really great cameras that are at the intersections.
Yeah.
Not only speed, but red light.
Yeah.
And literally right around the corner from my shop, behind Petco,
yeah,
that little road, Santiam Road there, they put a red light right behind Petco, and it's a 20-mile-an-hour zone there.
Is it 20 back there?
Yeah.
I know where you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's flashed on me like 3 or 4 times now. I've only gotten one ticket.
Okay.
I'm confessing to my insurance guy. Jeez.
You just telling on yourself.
I just told him myself. No, but no, it's ridiculous. And every single one of my employees have all gotten, when they first put it in, they did a warning for 30 days or 45 days, and they all got warnings in the mail. But I've had it flash, and for me, the main thing is, when I leave the shop and I take that route, which was my common route to go, I'm thinking about where I'm going and what I'm doing. And it's not like I was doing 50 in there. I'm doing 28 or 29. I'm doing under 30, which it should be a 30-mile-an-hour zone. And I don't know why it's set so low. But I get that. And that's...
Good luck changing it.
Yeah.
Getting it changed.
So.
You know what's funny about that is one of my clients on commercial, and Madrona, there's a camera, and she got not one, but 2 red light tickets in the same week.
Oh.
And she was panicked, and I understand that. And the red lights are terrible and wonderful at the same time. In up through the year 2000, I think it was, we were all scared to death of drunk drivers. State Farm does more research than any other company on the planet as to where the risks are. That's not the case today. Today it's distracted drivers. Food, friends, phone, whatever it is you're doing in your car. And there are more people now, plaintiffs, attorneys, are demanding the cell records in severe injury and death cases. And what's interesting is many people are traveling through an intersection. They didn't know they were in an intersection at all because they're distracted. So Today, the cameras, if they don't do anything else, they heighten our awareness and they force us to go back to driving rather than whatever else it is it's doing. But I hate them too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're really good. Do
effective.
you know in Albany, I don't know if you I know you're from the Albany area. But they had a camera up at the bridge when you're coming over from
Sure. That's
Ellsworth.
where-
They had a little camera that was up on the top of the pole, and Hasso Herring did a report on it. Somebody asked him about it, and it was actually a license plate tracker camera, and people like were really up in arms about it because it was a tracker and it was tracking license plates, and what it was for, it was feeding the government and not just local. It was feeding them, and what they were using it for is if there was like a child abduction or a serious crime somewhere in the state, it was all fed into AI, and it can report if that license plate on that vehicle was spotted in that area, so they can track the route of something that happened illegal.
I
But
saw an article on that.
yeah, but they took the camera down.
Did they?
Yeah. Oh yeah, because the people in Albany just like couldn't.
Good for Hasso.
And they took it down. He reported when it went up, and he reported when it went down. And they don't know how long it was up. It just went up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And even the Albany Police Department didn't know anything about it.
I think that's the article that I read.
Yeah.
I think that's the
That's
article that I read.
fascinating.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Interestingly, both my mom and dad worked for the Democrat Herald when Hasso Herring. I heard his name growing up.
Oh, wow.
And he's been an influence in Albany doing really cool things for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much respect for him.
So I got to tell you guys another
Okay,
funny story
okay.
about Don. So
Uh-oh.
no, you know the story already, but
Yeah, I would think you would.
he would know the story, the connections. So Crystal, we were sitting there talking one day, and she's looking through social media, and she sees the pictures of her cousin doing a photo shoot at a wedding, and it was your nephew's wedding, Parker's wedding.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were officiating it.
I was officiating.
And she's looking through the pictures that her cousin was taking the pictures of. That was the photographer, and goes, "Hey, there's Don. What's Don doing?" And then we started putting it all together, and it's a small world.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
They live out in North Albany.
Yep.
That's where Sherry, my wife, was from, and I made a lot of trips out to North Albany.
Yeah, I bet.
When we were dating. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. She still laughs. I used to cycle. I cycled a lot. I rode up to 1,000 miles a month. Today, if I did that, the last thing I'd hear is the sound of somebody yelling "clear" while they tried to restart my heart. But I loved cycling, and I would ride out to her house at the top of Gibson Hill, Scenico, and I had my black tights on and my gloves and all the stuff you wore back then. And her mom said, "Boy, I tell you, you really must love that boy. He's a strange looking one." We still laugh about that. She thought any boy who would ride to her daughter's house dressed like that on a bicycle, she should give some second thoughts to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that just brings to the point that you just never know how the world is connected. Because Parker being your nephew, he's one of my customers.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know at the time that when he had the pressure washing business, that he was your nephew. And then he's with Dakota Roofing, which that's his uncle or somebody.
Dakota Roofing is my son-in-law's
Son-in-law's
business. Jacob
yep.
Flintworth. Yeah.
Okay, and then he's also part owner of Skyline Video. He's connected with Skyline
He's
Video.
connected with them,
and Andrew
correct.
Yancey, who's going to be on our
is
show.
a part
in a
owner
couple,
of.
Yeah.
Andrew's a part owner.
Yeah, and so it's
Yep.
just never know how the world's
That's a
connected.
riot.
I love it.
It's a riot. It's fun.
And I run into you in Albany at the Boys and Girls Club at sports games.
Yeah,
Grandkids.
you know, we've never left the Willamette Valley. We've been between Salem and Cottage Grove all our lives, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, beautiful
I'm
area.
grateful for that. Yep.
So back to the pizza.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Well, no, what's really funny about that is, being in the industry as long as you were and at the level you were and things like that, each part of the industry is a little bit different. You talked about employees and how you've been with the hiring with State Farm and stuff we're a stepping stone industry in the pizza industry. So you're hoping to find a good kid, and then you're hopefully they're transitioning to something better.
Yeah.
And you're trying to go that way. And so you're looking for a specific kind of person. That's like when you were saying you were trying to transition to pizza business mentality in a way, the way your brain worked to this. I was like, wow, that cannot be an easy transition, which is difficult. But so the pizza industry, was that, if you had to choose between those two industries, which one did you prefer? Like, which one did you have Which one did you enjoy more? Because I also think
Yeah.
that now where you're at now, I think the enjoyment level is very different than where you were at then. And so I think it's kind of interesting now that I've been listening to you.
Yeah. Mike, what's interesting is one night when I took off my apron, I realized I was about 40 years of age. I realized I don't think I want to do this for another 25 years. We were open 7 days a week. We had espresso window. What's funny is we had one of our, we were closed for months because a fella fell asleep. He'd been drinking and taking pain pills, and he drove his big 70s Cutlass station wagon through the side of the building and pushed our walk-in cooler out the back of the building
Shit.
and just basically destroyed the restaurant. And while we waited for the restaurant to be rebuilt, I decided it's time to put in a drive-in. We'll put up a drive-up window. Might as well put espresso. Those things all helped, but constantly had to be thinking about the next thing. And about age 40, I said, I wonder if there's something else I could do. That's when the chain was sold. I went to work for corporate. And it was during those years in corporate that I realized it wasn't pizza I missed so much as it was being responsible for the outcome. Owning it if it went well, owning if it went bad, but not dodging the ownership of that responsibility. That was a thrill to me. I loved it. And really, I couldn't see myself doing that in the pizza business or restaurant business. I didn't have the energy. And at 46, when I looked at State Farm, what I realized was I'm probably better suited to this. I've just got to learn the industry now. Yeah. I wish I'd been waist deep or neck deep in industry knowledge before I'd started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ankle deep turned out to be a challenge. But yeah, we go through phases or stages of life. And yeah, I'm just grateful it came along when it did. Yeah, the change.
Well, it was really a big change. You know,
A big one, yeah. About 2 years ago, I started taking Thursdays off, working 4 days a week, and just to see what that was like, because I've always placed all my productivity at work.
Yeah.
Turns out there was a lot of places to be productive out of work. Carlos and Shelby and Sarah are the leaders in my agency, and all three of them wanted more responsibility. So the last 2 years, we've been very deliberately moving more and more of it to them. As of the start of February, I went down to 2 days a week. So I'm working Mondays and Fridays. I can be reached. My team reaches me anytime during the day they need to. And while I did that, I was really nervous about it. Sherry doesn't want me in the driveway all day long, and I don't want to be there, and I run out of projects fast. And in talking to my oldest daughter, she wanted some help homeschooling. She homeschools 5 of her 6 kids. And so I help some on Tuesdays, and I go to their co-op where there's about 100 kids on Wednesdays. And it has been challenging, much harder than I thought, extremely, extremely satisfying, really fun. I really look forward to it. I have no background in teaching. I have to follow, no leading. What she teaches and tells me to do, I do. What the other gals who are involved in instruction in the co-op do. But I never would have thought this would be what the next step in work would be like. And it is both, it's strange, it's work because I have to be prepared for it. I have to understand the homework, I have to understand the objectives. Each kid learns different. Boy, she's got 2 kids close in age and nothing else about them is alike. They're so different. But I would say when we stop learning, we stop growing. And life just really, then you're alive, but you're not really living.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that Katie, my oldest daughter, spoke up and said, Dad, I really need help. Are you working less? And there was an opportunity there.
That's
great.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that you're transitioning, this homeschooling and this teaching thing isn't a forever gig for you. What are your plans after you step out of the insurance business?
Don't plan on doing that.
You don't?
Nope.
You're going to stay in it?
Nope. Don't have any plans on doing that at all.
Okay.
Yeah. I could go back to a 3rd day in the office if I was needed. I'd love to go back and help develop the next person we hire. I'd love to help team members get to a place they want to go to next. Every year we do an analysis. I call it a strategic conversation. We do it on a 2-foot by 3-foot Post-it note. And we start with a storyboard. What's going well for you? And we list everything at that point in their life that's going well they don't want to have change. We do that, if you imagine, in red. On the right, now tell me everything you want to see happen in the next 12 to 18 months. Okay, have a baby, buy a house, take a vacation to someplace you've always wanted to do, become part-time. It's been a joy to help some of my team go to part-time. And then right next to that on the left, in black, what's going to get in the way of those things happening? And then we rank their number 1, 2, and 3 goal and the number 1, 2, and 3 thing that'll get in their way. And every year, year after year, what they know is Don's going to help them, if they want it, move those number 1 and 2 obstacles out of the way to get to their number 1 and 2 goals. That is the purpose of our agency.
Okay.
By meeting the needs of my team, they meet all the needs of our clients. We understand. And the other thing is their needs change.
Yep.
That storyboard changes every year. And sometimes, because I keep the one from the year prior, they're shocked at how much change has gone on in a year.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
And their goals change. So what'll be needed from me going forward, I don't really know. It depends on my team. Depends on them.
No, is this something you do as a group together, or you do it individually?
Individually.
You have them set
Individually.
aside? Yep.
Every single one of them.
I like that.
We do it in October based on what they tell me. We set the goals for the agency in November based on who wants to grow, by how much, whose income needs to go up, who wants to go down to part-time.
That's amazing. You're a great leader, it sounds like, and you'd be a lot of fun to work with. I've asked your team when I've been in there, is he really fun to work with, and does he have a lot of jokes? He goes, yeah, we hear a lot of the same jokes, but
Yeah. I love to laugh and I love to help other people laugh.
I love
And I
that.
sometimes,
Yeah.
if they're miserable when they laugh, that's when I have the most joy.
yeah, and that's what you do. You bring to the network group is you bring a lot of humor and a lot of fun, and
Yes,
I
enjoy
just
it.
never know what's going to come out of your mouth
Nope.
when you're up there with the microphone. So it's great. Do you have any more questions?
Well, what's funny is I would love for you and I to go to coffee one day and just kind of chat.
I'd
Because
be
I
glad
like
to.
that you've
Love
got, because the transitions and things like that. But what's nice is you've done 3 very different things. And to be able to pull from those 3 things when you're dealing with people or, mentoring or things like that. So I'm curious if you mentor anybody would be one of the bigger, longer questions to do. So,
Most Excellent Way has 70 to 90 men who show up on Monday nights, and I'm regularly, with our leader, Matt, available for any one of those guys.
yeah.
And then I've done a mentoring program through the UGM, which is a year long, with a guy who's trying to get on his feet again. And I have some informal mentorships as well. But yeah, when I do mentor, I take it seriously.
I'd say that's got to be super rewarding,
It's hard.
but very hard. Yeah. Well, that's
It's
usually
hard. Yeah. The recidivism rate is high,
Yeah.
but by the second or third time through, what you start to see is a guy's eyes change, and then his life changes, and you realize you're getting to be a part of somebody getting their life back.
Yeah, that's super
Love to
cool.
So
You gonna do your rapid fires?
I want to do rapid
I got a
fires.
couple.
Okay, hit me.
Okay, go ahead.
This, you told me about it.
Pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely.
Yes. I second that.
My wife's
I did
family
see
from
that.
Pennsylvania says no.
Yeah.
You're sick. You're wrong.
Favorite color?
Purple.
Purple.
This week.
Nice. This week. What's going to be next week? Do you have any plans?
Ask me next week.
Okay. Okay. If you had what was it? 25th hour in the day, what would you do?
Eat pizza.
Eat pizza. I like that. What's your favorite car?
1966 Ferrari 250 LM Tunnelback.
Are you going to own one of those?
Well, most recently one sold for $16.5 million, so I think it's
Yeah.
fair to say the 124 scale model I have and have owned since I was 17 years of age is it.
Okay. Well, it's goals. Setting goals
Yeah.
is big in life. So do you prefer the beach getaway or a mountain hike?
The beach.
Beach.
Yeah.
Favorite kind of food?
Interesting. Number 1 would be artichokes.
Oh.
Has been there for a long time. Artichokes and pizza. Yeah.
I like that.
Name all 10 grandkids.
I have 9.
Nine,
and
sorry,
they are
9.
Anaya, Alexa, Colson, Savannah, Anaya, Alexa, Colson, Savannah, Selah, Hank, and Hendrick, and Lila, and Moira.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
So on
I have to say something really fast. They have a trend on social media where you sit in a chair and one by one, your grandkids would say a word, and you have to guess what child it is.
Ooh.
It's a trend.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
Family
Yeah.
get
What a
together
fun
project.
exercise. Maybe
Yeah.
this Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Favorite hero? Do you have a hero in your life?
Not off the top of my head. Not off the top of many times it's somebody whose words are coming back and helping me in the moment. And not off the top of my head.
Right on. If you were to go back in any time era, what era would you want to live in?
I don't know enough about other times to want something different than I have. I'm very content in my life today. But I have a hunch the Industrial Revolution and being a part of watching everything in the country begin to change would be fascinating to go back and watch and be a part of. Yeah.
Like 40s, 50s?
Even earlier, I
30s,
think
yeah.
I'm fascinated by auto art, Art Deco in the 20s and 30s when Duesenbergs and Auburns and Cords and cars were really rolling artwork. And architecture was as well. There was so much thoughtfulness put into design, and I see that dissipating today, and not completely, but in many ways.
They almost all look the same now.
Yeah. I used to know every car on the road. My wife and I would play, our kids would play. I don't even pay attention now because there are just too many similar shapes.
Yeah.
I love dimension.
I agree with you. What would your warning label say?
My daughter gave me a warning label. She said, "Dad, you've seen the trucks going down the road that say wide load?" And I started to get angry, and she said, "Yours needs to say weird load." And I would say that would be a fair warning sign. I am weird to the bone. I have fun being weird. I just have to be careful who and how much of that weirdness I share.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that you lose all the time?
Keys to one or more of the cars.
What's the one word that you can never spell correctly the first time?
I don't struggle with spelling.
Okay.
So I can't think of a word that's chronically misspelled, but I struggle to find the right word sometimes. Yes, and exercise the wrong one only to wish I'd kept my mouth shut.
I relate to that all the time.
Yep.
So if you have a jelly sandwich, what goes with that?
A jelly sandwich?
Yeah.
I hate peanut butter. We grew up just above the poverty line, and my mom hated cooking, and she'd say, "I'm sorry I burned dinner again." And she did, again and again and again and again. And she said, "I hate housework and I hate cooking." So we ate peanut butter, and I hate the smell of peanut butter to this
You
day.
said that on your bio, so I've got like
hate
5 year
peanut butter.
questions. He was like, "So do you enjoy Reese's peanut butter cups, or is there any part of Reese's peanut butter cups you don't enjoy?" I mean, I was just going to go on and
Yeah,
on about peanut
yeah,
butter to see if I can
yeah.
get you to say peanut butter, but you kicked it right out of the gate. So
Yeah, I detest
But
peanut butter.
it is interesting though, because you grow up like
Yeah.
that. As I grew up pretty humble, I guess the
Yeah.
best way to put it. And we talked about eating cereal out of Cool Whip bowls, and we had those kind of
Yep.
things, those types of things. And
Yep.
it is funny. There's a couple of foods that just Salisbury steak is for me.
Oh, that's hilarious. I'd forgotten
yeah.
about that. I haven't had that in a long time.
Oh.
I'll be okay if I don't. Our
all
family's
great.
Greek. We love Greek food. My dad didn't speak English till he was almost 10 years of age. And so a lot of the foods we like, people call Greek. We don't consider Greek. And the whole Mediterranean region argues with one another whose it is. And they're all more similar than not. But most anything that you'd find in a Greek deli or a Greek restaurant, we'd eat. We'd choose to eat that.
Do you know any of the language still?
No. Went to Greece for the first time 2 years ago and went to Corinth where my grandma was raised and where their family was.
It's absolutely beautiful over there.
Yeah, we went to the church. We made it up to a church that we found out was where she got married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we didn't know it when we were there. It was really cool.
I heard that's where the first donut was made. In
Again,
Greece.
we've been watching a lot of food channels and a lot of food shows, and I think there's 8 or 9 countries that may say they own the donut, but who knows?
Well,
Maybe.
it was made in Greece, right?
Well, yeah, okay, the joke was Germany got hungry and fried turkey in Greece. I heard that growing up. Yeah,
okay, okay.
ha. My grandkids still
Good up one.
laugh about that. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you for coming on the show. I love talking to
Oh, this
you.
is fun.
I look
My
forward
pleasure.
to my Thursdays,
Me too.
and we
Me
get to
too.
chat and stuff, and it's kind of fun. You've been a huge part of the Networks of Salem growing the group. And
Appreciate
I
that,
know
Pete.
that
It's
you
been a
do
good
say, you know, you've talked about how when you first joined, you didn't get much out of the group at first. It took a little while, but once it did kick in and you were getting out of the group, you've put that effort back into the group to help others grow. And I really appreciate that. And I see that. And I think a lot of other people see that. And so you're, as a mentor, you're a really good mentor to the other business people in there.
Thanks.
So,
That group matters to me a lot.
yep.
Yep,
I
those
enjoy
people
it.
do.
So
Yeah.
thank you.